Hello,
Hello.
welcome back to Dad's Chats 2. Today I'm talking to Alex Haggett, who I think
Hi
some of you may
guys.
know because of the GB Doc quiz, GB Doc tweet chat, some of the other GB Doc activities. Alex has been involved in GB Doc for a little while, but kind of new to the community.
I am, yes. I think I started in earnest probably in August, September, something like that.
Yeah.
Before I was just kind of dipping in and out. Yeah.
So only kind of 6 months into your community journey, I suppose. But what about your diabetes? Do you want to tell me about when you were diagnosed and how that came about?
Sure. So I was diagnosed, I was quite old already. It was in 99. And I was actually already living in the UK, and I went to visit my parents. They live in Provence. And I was on the pill and I needed to have a blood test done to have my pill renewed because I was getting it from France rather than the UK. Why? I can't remember. Anyway, and so I went for a blood test, Needle of Mouse, first one in the lab about 8 o'clock in the morning. The nurse withdrew my blood and she said, "Oh, could you wait a few minutes, please?" And I said, "Yes, it's fine." And then she came back and she said, "You didn't mention you were diabetic." And I said, "Excuse me, what?" She said, "Well, you're diabetic, aren't you?" And I said, "No, that's probably a mistake." And she said, "No, you're the only person here this morning. I'm just looking at your blood because that's the only sample I have, and you're diabetic." And I said, "Oh, right, okay." No clue exactly what it was about. On my way back home, obviously, I stopped at the bakery and a boulangerie and I bought myself a pain au chocolat that I was finishing eating. And I said to my mum, she said, "Oh, did you go?" And I said, "Fine." They said, "I'm diabetic." And my mum said, "Get that pain au chocolat out of your mouth straight away."
Wow.
And then she said, "You can't eat any sugar." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "No chocolate, no biscuit, no nothing." She said, you can't." And I said, "Well, that's not fair, but why is that?" And, we didn't have the internet at home at the time, which is kind of weird to say nowadays. But I said, "Oh my God." So luckily, somehow, my mum had an appointment with an endocrinologist that same afternoon because she had some issue with her thyroid. And she said, "Well, why don't you come with me?" So I said, "Okay." So we went together. And so my mum did this thing. And then she said, "Oh, my daughter is here because this morning she had a blood test and she was told she's diabetic." So straight away, she took out a glucometer and she pricked my finger and she said, "Yes, you are." And she said, "But you didn't have any sign, tiredness, going to the loo, etc." I said, "I've always been drinking lots. I've always been going to the loo because I'm drinking lots. And I haven't lost weight. I'm a bit tired, but that's it." So she said, "Okay, fine. I'm putting you on insulin." And so it was with a little syringe, and it was kind of long-acting that she gave me at the time because she said, "I'm not too sure how is it going to pan out. So you should come back to me." She also gave me a glucometer, and she said, "You need to take it every time you want to eat something, even if you want a snack. Try to avoid sugar at all cost. And you come back in 3 months unless there is something before that." And I said, "Well, I'm not living here. I'm actually, living in the UK." And she said, "Well, then go and see your doctor." And she wrote a letter in French. So when I came back after my holiday, which we see I didn't enjoy that much because I wasn't allowed to, go to the patisserie anymore, which was always the highlight of my visit to my parents. And I started losing weight as well. I went to the GP and they said, "Oh, well, we refer you to the hospital." So I was living in North London and they referred me to the Royal Free, which is in Hampstead. And so there they switched me to pens. So I had lentils and Humalog for a bit. And so that was at least for a couple of years. So we spent MDI really. And then my sister had an issue with the thyroid as well. So my mom said, you should check your thyroid because, you know, there's obviously something going on. It might be genetic or not. And at the time I worked for an insurance company and I had a very good health insurance. So I said, oh, I'll go private. That would be quicker. And I met an endocrinologist and he said to me, do you attend Good Hope Hospital for your diabetes? And I said, yes. He said, I do too. I'm a consultant there. Would you like to come under my remit? And I said, well, yes, please, because he was kind of young as well. Well, he was the one, he was under Professor Press, who has had a bit of fame at the time because he was involved in one of the first isolates transplant, because they carried some at Zero Free Hospital. So, and that doctor, that young endocrinologist, had a name, very famous, Dr. Van der Pump. And I just say, it's a sign.
Oh.
And so I started to seeing him. And I think on my first visit with him, so he has, of course, far more details to have a better understanding of my file. And then he say, do you want a pump? And I said, not too sure what it is. And then he said, well, go out, speak to Jan, the DSN. She's got one. She can explain to you everything, but you should go on a pump. And I just said, I'll think about it. Because I didn't know much about you know, the disease, etc. And I was doing quite well with my MDI. I mean, my HbA1c at the time was correct, you know. So I said, oh, I'll think about it. So I spoke to Jan. She showed it to me. She had a Medtronic pump. And I remember she said, oh, I'll show you how to inject. And then, you know, she did herself. And I said, oh my God, you're injecting insulin. And she said, it's just 0.1 unit. It's fine. And she just said, well, think about it. But if you have any question, I'm here. And I said, okay, fine. And then I think 3 months down the line, I was just fed up with my pen. I think I started to bruise an awful lot because of the needles. And I contacted the DSN. I said, you know, you had mentioned the pump, and I think I'm kind of ready to go on a pump. She said, okay, well, let's schedule an appointment with the endocrinologist and we'll see what it was. And that's it, really. And then straight away, you know, he said, okay, pump funding, blah, 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 blah. I think 2 weeks later, I had my pump, I had my training. Which at the time was with my DSN. I chose a Medtronic pump because she was on a Medtronic pump, and I thought if there's any problem, she's there, she can hold my hand, and she's always been fantastic. Plus at the time, I don't think there were much on offer, to be honest with you. And I've been on Medtronic ever since. You know, I had my 2 pregnancies at the same hospital with the same team, plus the specialist, how do you call it? Yeah, I mean, basically, there is a specific team for pregnant ladies at that hospital, and I was down there every 2 weeks. I had scan every month up till the end, so I have actually picture of my son before he was born, which is quite incredible. I tried CGM as well during my pregnancy, and but at the time, you know, it wasn't talking to a pump. It was just to analyze your blood sugar, just to kind of understand the sort of adjustment you needed to do to your bolus and your basal. Yeah. But yeah, and it was the same when I decided to become pregnant. You know, I had a talk where they say, you know, it's a bit hard. Your HbA1c needs to be at a certain number. So I think at the time they had mentioned you should be less than 7.2. Things may have changed now. I don't know. And it may take some time for you once, you know, you're off your contraceptive to get pregnant. I got pregnant straight away. Oh. And the same with my daughter. So, you know, there's no right, there's no wrong. I think, you know, everybody's different. I have been just extremely lucky. And my kids are healthy. I managed to give my placenta, so for my daughter's placenta away to the Nolan charity. So they had kids with stem cell, etc. Oh, wow. That they can retrieve from the pancreas. Because they offer it to me, and I say, as long as my doctor is healthy, you can have it because I don't need it. See if that can help, to save someone. Be more than happy to do that.
Wow.
And yes, and I just said, can I just have a look at it? And I remember, so I had my daughter by C-section, planned C-section, and I could see, them looking at it and just kind of, it's a membrane. It's kind of squarish. It's funny in color, funny in material, etc. And they say, no, that's fine. And then the Nolan Society was just there, like, oh, thank you so much, etc. And then they came to see me when I was in ICU afterwards, just to thank me again. And I said, well, it's fine. I'm more than happy if that helps. Different lives. That's absolutely okay with me.
That's so cool. That's such a cool
yeah,
thing.
It was, and I'm very glad I did it. I'm sorry I didn't do it for my son, but it wasn't. I haven't been targeted at the time. I think that would be easier to say. So I didn't know it was in existence, but I would have done it as well if I had known. Yeah. And then we moved to the West Midlands, to Birmingham. And obviously I had to change hospital. So it was a bit of a drama, I remember, because on my last visit to my hospital in London, I said, well, we're moving to Birmingham. And they said straight away to me, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay with us and then commute, every 6 months to see us? Or do you want to transfer over there? And I really hesitated, and I said, no, the practicalities, probably best if I transfer. And so they transferred me to the hospital here, and didn't, the chemistry with the team over there was completely different. I felt completely left out. No connection really. It was, oh, right, okay. And the endocrinologist I met said to me, why are you on a pump? And I said, excuse me? I've been on a pump for over 10 years. Why are you questioning why I'm on a pump? He said, well, your diabetes is a bit, I'm not too sure you're type 1 actually. And I said, what's going on? Who's that guy who's telling me I'm type 1? And I said, well, anyway, I'm on a pump and I want to carry on a pump. I mean, perhaps I'm extremely well managed, but it's working for me. So let's carry on this way. So I had to jump through a few loops to ensure that, I got the funding. And so they didn't take my pump away, but I thought it was really strange. And then that same year, Christmas party with work, having a bit of a laugh, jumping around, kind of, I'm a party girl. I was a party girl anyway. Anyway, what I didn't notice is that because it's tubing, it's connecting to my belly, somebody lifted me up in the air. Why? Don't ask. Don't remember. But it disconnected me, and I didn't really realize it, because the way it was is that the sticker was still on, but basically the cannula was no longer in my body, and I didn't notice.
Yeah.
So went to bed, worse for wear, and then I spent my night going to the toilet. And I thought, well, it's because I've mixed up, I've drunk too much, that's not really good. And so I'm connected, and pump will, take care of it. And didn't really think of doing a blood, finger pricking to check. I was just knackered and didn't really care. And it's the morning, because I vomited so much that in the morning it was bile. It was extremely painful. And I said, oh, I really need to do something. So I called the 999 and I said, I'm type 1 diabetic. Yes, what's your sugar level? Oh, I haven't checked it. I checked it. I was 27. I said, I explain why. And then they say, have you done your ketones? No, 5.6. Okay, well, pack a bag, go to the hospital, because I think they're going to keep you.
Yes. Those things can happen though quite easily, can't it? I mean, I've only been on a pump for 6 months, and I somehow managed to disconnect in my sleep. I don't know what I was doing. But
I remember you tweeted about that. Yeah. So I was admitted for DK. I actually stayed just one night at the hospital. So they put me on a scale. And the others was that they needed to get some blood out of me, but my 2 arms were used already for different perfusion. and they had to use my feet. And I don't know if you ever had a needle in your feet. It's absolutely
Ooh.
tremendous. It's really, really painful. I do not recommend if you can avoid it. And I was just saying, but I'm connected everywhere. Can you just not always draw blood from those rather than my feet? Because at the same time, they wanted to wake you up. And obviously, this was pre-Libra. And that's how you realize, you know, how much this is a game changer, because basically nowadays, if you are in hospital and you have your Libra on, you know, they will probably do still some fingerprinting to ensure that it is correct. But if they realize that it is correct, then that's it. So, you know, you don't have to be bothered to be woken up to have blood taken out. So yeah, things have come a long way. Things have come
absolutely.
a long way.
It sounds like that when you were diagnosed, you weren't especially unwell. You
No,
picked up on
no,
some
I
of the
wasn't.
symptoms. So when you
I
were
wasn't.
admitted
And
with
I
DKA,
wasn't.
was
Yeah,
that your first time with DKA when you had the
that
disconnect?
was my first time, yes. And my last, where I had to stay into hospital overnight, I had something slightly similar happening to me, but I wasn't as high. Again, I was visiting my parents, and we went to spend the afternoon by a lake inland, and it was extremely hot, really, really, really hot. And I think I got an installation. My insulin got compromised as well. And I woke up in the morning. I remember thinking, gosh, I'm hot. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. So dawn was just kind of appearing. And I remember thinking, I'm actually going into the swimming pool because I'm so hot. And I went in, I had the impression that the water was boiling around me because I was so hot. And I just realized there's something wrong. And straight away, I had everything with me. So I didn't even, you know, I changed, so changed my kit, my insulin. I took my fingerprinting, and I think I was 19.2, so not that high, but so it's still good. So my dad has, said, well, you're up early, what's going on? And I said, well, you need to drive me to hospital because I'm going to start DKA right now. They need to help me bring me down. So I had never dealt really my diabetes in France. So for me, it was kind of a bit of a wide opener because I arrived and I said, I think I'm starting DKA. And then they look at me and say, what? And I was, ketoacidosis, problem with ketones. And I said, my kidney. And they say, yes, okay, we got you. And basically, they put me in a room on a drip just to rehydrate me. And no one really knew about diabetes in the emergency section. They call in someone at the hospital in diabetology. They say, what's going on, what happened? So I explain, and I say, yeah, I changed all my pump, etc. How are you doing? Do you have your meter with you? And basically they just say, well, right, so we're putting fluids into you. You drink as much as you can. You go to the loo as much as you can. And we'll monitor you like this. I did manage to have a ham sandwich, which was, as they call it, un sandwich en triangle. So which is kind of the English, you know, triangular shape, which I really love because obviously over here, that's what you have. And yeah, by the end of the day, I left because I was back down. I think I was at 8.5. So, you know, kind of okay to go home. Yeah, but it was kind of,
you weren't there for too long then.
I wasn't there for too long, but I was completely left on my own. And I was thinking, I'm glad I'm keeping a cool head. I kind of know what it is, and I know I just have to wait and things are going to get better. But it was just like, I'm not feeling looked after. You know, it's kind of, I think it's very solitary sometimes.
Yeah, even in hospital sometimes there's a lot of self-care involved with T1D. You've got to look after your sugars yourself, your blood glucose yourself. They might come and check a couple of times a day, but I guess it helps to have tech. I'm going to show an image of all of your tech now.
Yeah, of course,
that you're using at the moment. So you're kind of well in there with CGMs and pumps and things for quite a while. Are you heading towards looping?
Yes, I am. So looping also has been an experience. So I'm not yet looping as yet. But because I'm premenopausal, hormones have just played real havoc. So I may have mentioned in one of my tweets that I contacted the hospital because really I was just, just up and down, up and down, up and down. And it was kind of going from hypo to hyper without really staying in the green zone, if you know what I mean. And it was just kind of, oh, what do I need to do? And so they calmed me down because obviously I was tired, exhausted. I think that was really burnout for me. And the DSM started to talk to me, and then I discovered things that no one had mentioned to me before, like, what do you mean you don't have a basal rate for when linked to your cycle? And I say, what period do affect diabetes? I didn't know. So, I'm thinking it's only when I'm premenopausal that I'm being told that.
Yeah.
So
kind of late in the day, I guess.
How have I managed until then? And so really nice person on the phone, which I've never met in the flesh, but she's been really good. And then I say, oh, can I get a CGM? Can I get a CGM? And because they do it based on the hypoglycemia, at least at that hospital, that you have the incident in particular where you need somebody's help. I've been lucky that I haven't had that sort of accident, basically. So, I can go low, but usually I'm still conscious, or at least there's always someone at home that can provide me with, would it be sweets or juice or something just to make me come back. Yeah. So they said, well, currently, no, you somehow well managed with a pump and Libra, and that's all you can get. And I just say, right, okay, so if I do self-funding, what's going on? And they say, well, self-funding will help you out as well. Or is that going to be doing? And I say, okay, fine. And so left it at that. And then because I'm following Porter, and then I saw, all the build up. And I think when he announced that, the NICE guidelines were changing, I was jumping up and down in the kitchen. I'm thinking, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm somehow impatient. I just received my bonus from work. So I contacted Medtronics and I said, I want it now.
Yeah.
Because when I spoke to my DSN just before Christmas about it, because we had a chat just to check that all the different changes we had made previously to my rates was working. I said, CGM, NICE guidelines, etc. She said, well, you've already got some Medtronic pumps, so if it changes, then you're obviously on the list for us to fund you. And she said, we can't do it beforehand, but you obviously, when that comes to, we'll be able to assist. So I said, can I have this in writing?
Yeah.
And she laughed and she said, I make a note in your file. And I said, please do. And I said, you can use a pretty color as well. But anyway, so I contacted Medtronic in January, and the guys say, well, currently we still haven't, we don't have much sensors to hand out. Plus, it's still not the G4, it's the G3, because they still had issue with COVID. So I said, okay, fine, I wait. And then I saw, oh, well, my phone is not listed for the app, so does that mean it's not working? And he said, well, it's not supported, we haven't tested it, but it might or it might not. So that's also something to bear in mind. And I said, okay, fine. So I recontacted the same guy about 2 weeks later, and he said to me, no, they are coming through, but currently that's where we are, and it's going to be the G3. And I'm thinking, you are announcing it's the G4. That's not fair, but fine, okay. And then there was, it was again announced on Twitter, Fastpass, which is something that I had signed for originally. And so I contacted them. I said, well, Fastpass customers can have G4. I've signed for Fastpass. Can I have it, please? And they let me hang for quite a while. And I got a call on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, and they say, yes, we can sign you up.
Excellent.
So I'm signed up. I have my training on the 24th and 28th of March. So basically, I'm paying for the first kit, but then possibly that the NHS will pick up the next one.
Excellent.
Fingers crossed.
Good news. Things seem to be moving quite well in terms of technology, and I think you were diagnosed in '99, so you must have seen those steps as things change.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting, to read about everybody's experience as well. In particular, one of the few chats that you kind of good at, retweeting or sharing things that people are telling you. I mean, when I was diagnosed, I was lucky, possibly, but I wasn't taken to or to discuss amputation or things like that. And I think it's really important because it's already a blow. So, and I cannot, I mean, I can understand that they want to make you realize that it is serious, that if you left it untreated, then obviously complications are going to come into your life. And this is what possibly you could end up having. But do it little by little, possibly not when you just diagnose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's difficult to work out how to work that conversation in, I think, some people. And just talking about, communicating, talking about diabetes complications and the whole shebang. I think maybe you were slightly like me in the early days, where you didn't particularly engage with other people about it and talk about it, but lately with GB Doc you have. Is that
it is thanks to GB Doc, yes. And another thing as well is that I've also changed DSN. I mean, it's the same hospital, but the team has changed. So the first one I had was the diabetic herself. She'd never revealed she was a diabetic. Why not? Why are you ashamed? You work in diabetes. Who is diabetic? Why don't you want to let people? I didn't get that. Anyway, so there's that new person, and she's quite dynamic, which, I like to have someone that, you have the impression that things are going to get done, perhaps not as quickly as you would like them to do, but at least they kind of showing an interest, and, they're kind of, okay, you know that something is going to happen.
Yeah.
And not kind of, oh yeah, possibly. And then, that you're not going to do anything for me, that's fine. Anyway, I did mention to her, the new insulin. And again, it's because you've been talking about it, because, not really knowing what's going on. And obviously, they don't do LUMGEV, but FIASP. And that's also something that Nick Cam has mentioned. FIASP in the West Midlands, you can't have it unless you're pregnant.
Oh.
And I said to them, well, that's not fair, because first you just, giving it to the woman and only at a particular time. And they said, yes, but you understand with the hormonal changes that we are going through in pregnancy. And I said, what about menopause? I said, I'm going through lots of changes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I plead my case quite well. I'm now on FIASP.
Yeah.
So you see, sometimes you just have to force the issue, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be a thing, should it? But sometimes
it shouldn't.
I've said
it truly
kind
shouldn't.
of got to be, a little more verbal
because when I read all those stories, etc., obviously I don't know how people are, but I'm direct, and if I want something and I think I should have it, I'm in my right of yeah.
You've maybe
I'm getting it. I'm being the pain. I'm
yes.
being the bully. But I said I want it. I think I can have it. Why don't you give it to me? Because otherwise I'd be on your back. And I think that has worked for the insulin. That has worked with Medtronic and the G4.
Yeah.
So you need to ask.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. I mean, the worst is that you're going to get to know. But yeah. And sometimes also expressing your feelings, your sense of frustration or burnout, or crying over the phone. it's not nice, but first you need to make them empathize with you, because it's part of the fight. If they then realize that you're someone in need, that you're a human being, that your quality of life is being affected, then you need to get that sort of relationship. Yes.
I mean,
it's sad that you have sometimes to go that far, because obviously, we're still strangers. We don't go out to the pub together on Friday evening, but you need to make that connection.
I mean, it is an odd thing, and it shouldn't be a thing. It should be more sort of, they should be more understandable as HCPs of the things that we have to live with. But I think some of them are becoming that way, more understanding as we engage with them as a community, with GB doctors, engage with HCPs. And I think some of those HCPs are the best you can get, and I would love them to be my HCPs. And eventually I found a good one who understands my personal needs and what I need, and that's because I've seen him face to face. The ones before that, in the pandemic, there was video calls, phone calls, and they don't quite understand it until they see me. And then they see me and we talk and we understand, and before you know it, you get what you ask for. It's almost like a more human way to
the human relationship. No,
So-
that's truly what you need to do. Sorry, I've been a bit carried away with all of my stories, so perhaps you have more questions.
No, go ahead. No, it's fine. It saves me asking my stupid stuff. So your engagement with the community was what we were kind of talking about there, which was good. You seem to be sort of quite active in that now. Which is good to see.
I mean, basically, you've opened a door and I've barged into it. So let's put it this way. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I think the quiz is one of the first things I participated to, and I sent you an horrible pictures, you remember. But it was really fun to meet you, all. Met Downey as well. Well, not Downey, I've been in touch with Baguini, I mean, and she was a fantastic lady. And straight away, she welcomed me, and she reached out to me, and, and it was just kind of, oh my God, we hardly know each other, and you were there. And she was for that really fantastic. And I find it so inspiring somehow, the videos that you made with her, where she was talking about diabetes complication. She was so stoical about it, like she had made a peace with it, and I was kind of, wow, it it was like, for me, mind-blowing. Like,
She's an amazing lady. Amazing.
She was.
I think most people that met her or spoke with her have a similar sort of point.
Really made an impact, very positive. She made an impact, and it was, obviously I didn't know her that much, but there's a few interaction I had with her was just mind-blowing somehow. So
I mean, it's sad that she's gone, but I guess she leaves a little legacy behind there, which is good.
I do hope so, and I think so. I think people have been touched by her, and we're trying to keep that legacy alive. That's how I see it anyway. And I'm sure, I'm not very religious, but I think she's somehow watching us, and
it would be nice to think that. I think it would be nice to think that she's sort of laughing along and playing in the games and giving the answers out in the quiz when she shouldn't, all the things that she used to do.
And then basically there was a request for a Twitch chat host, and so might as well give it a go. And it's such a blast. Really enjoyed it. So I'm due to do another one in April. So
good, excellent.
They're really good.
That would be wonderful. And I think, well, I don't think, I know you're coming to TAD, aren't you? It's going to be when this gets published, it'll be in a day or two. It'll be later that week. And we're going to meet
on Saturday, and it would be so good to meet you properly in the flesh, and so many others as well. I'm really looking forward to it. It's it took me a very long time to join a community, but I think I found my people, if that's kind of, you know, a way of saying it, and really looking forward to it. It's kind of weird again, and people probably are going to hate me for it, because they'll say, oh, she's, you know, I probably have a lucky star, I guess, and I'm sorry for the people, because I apply for, you know, for a ticket at the very last minute, and because of a tweet again, you know, and I got a ticket. So and then I wasn't too sure, and then because there was the momentum and people talking about it, I said, no, I'm going. So got my tickets. I had a bit of a fright earlier this week because my return train got cancelled, but my ticket is valid on any other train. So I just thought, well, actually it was perhaps a bit early, so if we go to the pub, I might stay a bit longer.
Well, that's perfect. That's worked out beautifully.
Yeah, no, so you know, yeah,
It's
so
a lot of fun. The people that go, or at least to the TAD that I went to a couple of years ago, they were just lovely and nice and fun, and it's kind of a little bit like we are online. It's not all diabetes. We talk about diabetes a bit, but we're kind of laid back. We just joke and talk and chat and get to know each other. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. And I'm really looking forward to it, just to make new friends, you know, proper friends, that, you know, somehow I've walked in your shoes and get it. Yeah. And then we can swap stories and
Oh, I'm
and
sure
that
we
sort of
will.
things.
I'm sure we will, especially as the alcohol begins to flow later. We might not do a podcast about those things, but yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. So let's just close off before we get disconnected. I think on the podcast, I'm not sure if we'll have a time limit. How do you find your diabetes impacts you? Just a quick, you know, a few questions. So how do you find your diabetes impacts on your sort of day-to-day life with your hobbies? I've seen a photo of you with a horse. Let's talk about horses, and it's coming up now. Tell me about your horse.
Well, it's not my horse, obviously. It belongs to some stables that I attended. But basically, I was a keen rider as a teenager, and then we moved to the Caribbean, and obviously I couldn't do it over there because it was too distant, and obviously the horses they had weren't fabulous either. So I kind of stopped, and then I went back to France for university, and then I started again with university. But then because I did the European courses, so I've got a master in languages. I lived in England and in Spain. Couldn't do it when abroad, but when I was back, I was obviously riding, and then I moved to Paris first, and then to the UK, and then when I saw the price around London for riding, I just said, okay, fine, so that's it, it's over. And then we moved here to the West Midlands, and one of my friends, she was taking a daughter to the stables. And I said, oh, can I come with you? So I went there and asked about what it was, etc. And I said, okay, fine. Okay. So they said, well, if you want to ride, that's fine. So the first ride they put me on, someone was holding a long rein for me. And I just said, what? That's not what I want. That's, you know, and in the end, I again through a bit of coercion, so the girl let me trot for a bit, and she said, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, I can see that you can ride. Yes, thank you." So after that, I explained the situation, and she backed me up in front of the owner. We said, "Okay, well then for the advanced group, it is on Sunday morning, 8:30." And I said, "Okay, where do I sign?" And I did that for a bit, and it was great. The only thing is that where it was taking place, there wasn't much space, and you were kind of doing always the same thing. And one day he said to me, I don't want you to go out today. I want you to work in the manege. And I said, but why? He said, oh, you know, you just need to work a bit more on your on your seat, etc. And I said, I'm paying here. I want to go out and canter. I don't want to stay into a manege. And anyway, And there was another lady slightly older than me riding, and we looked at each other and we said, no, that's not going to happen. So we did it because obviously we were there. But then she said to me, oh, I know a different place. Do you want to come with me? And I said, yes. So we ended up going to Cannock Chase, though, which is how do you call it? A natural reserve or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a large park.
It's a very large park, yes. And we went there and we went riding because there's a trekking center there. And that was absolutely fabulous. You know, I really, really enjoyed it. And then obviously with COVID, she had to close for some times, and then she reopened, and then she reclosed, and then she reopened, and then she reclosed. And then I wasn't in a tough spot, I think, also with diabetes. So I haven't been riding in nearly a year now. Yeah, but I miss it. I miss it.
Is
But
it something you want to get back to?
I would love to, yes, because it has a soothing effect. It's something to do with large animals, with animals first, and with large animals in particular. And but I go from time to time because the friend will put me back into the saddle, if you wish. Her daughter is looking after a horse. And so from time to time I'm going with them. So, you know, it's just grooming and cleaning mostly, you know, it's not riding, but just to be there. And yeah, so I miss it because yeah.
There's something about animals, isn't there? That sort of quiet understanding you can get with
It
them.
is. It is. And if not, I do Pilates. So which currently, because I've got a badge again linked to diabetes, I've got my left shoulder is starting to freeze, so it's frozen. So the doctor this week who confirmed it, who is going to refer me to the physio. Currently, the painkillers do nothing, so I'm supposed to get anti-inflammatory. So I'm doing standing Pilates, which is interesting. It's quite different, lots of squats, but my teacher is lovely and she always put very good music. So you actually have the impression that you're dancing and don't really realize you're exercising, which is great.
And as a party girl, of course, you know, you're going to love dancing, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. So when she said, oh, come on, move your hips. And she said, enough. Don't show off. I don't think I can't help it.
Just, if you like it, you must be enjoying it. Why not?
Yes.
Okay, so that kind of touched on your hobbies a little. What about quickly for work? What do you work, don't you, Alex?
I do. So I work full time. Again, we had a change in our HR system, and I disclosed that I was diabetic type 1 because it was, you know, known as a disability. And so the people around me are aware. They kind of know what they need to do. I do not keep a glucagon at work because I used to, and then it never got used. And I think once someone stole it. But I've just said to people, okay, if I passed out, try to wake me up. You can't call the ambulance. That's fine. And the first header, I said, well, look, I also have a Libra. If you can find it and you can scan me, do it. If you cannot, try to put some juice in my mouth or a can of Coke. If you don't want to be bothered, call the ambulance. You know, I work in central Birmingham, so I'm thinking, yeah, the ambulance will come really quickly.
Yeah,
if I need to.
I would hope so. Yeah. Has anything happened in that way at work? Have you had any hypos or any issues with diabetes?
No, I have often hypos, in particular since I've started going back. So I work, when was it? This Monday. I arrive at work, hypo, treated it. Around 11 o'clock, hypo, treated it. Had lunch, was okay. I just thought, okay, I just want to be high for the train ride home.
Yeah.
I arrive at the station, not having left the city, hypo.
Oh.
Get on the train, arrive home, hypo. I'm thinking,
wow.
I think I shouldn't be going into the office. So again, it's just that beginning of the week, I've been oscillated between using 60% and 80% of my insulin. And today I'm back on 100%. And it's linked to hormones, I think, because there's nothing wrong with me, but it's just the way I'm reacting. And as soon as I do something which is like, going shopping, well, everybody knows that's a new law, but it's, you just don't know what's going on, if it's something in the air or whatever. So yeah, so I carried packets of Haribos in my coat, in my bag. I've got some juice in the car, just because I never know when I'm going to get caught. And it's really annoying because you scan with Libre, it says that you're fine, the arrow is horizontal, and you can see, it's like 6.5, okay, fine. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm 3.2, and it's just a drop. And I'm just thinking, how come I can drop so quickly?
Yeah.
And there's no indication, because the arrow was just horizontal. It wasn't going down, it wasn't going up, and it's just like,
Yeah.
so,
and it just falls
yeah.
out of the floor. And yeah, I think you're touching on a good point in terms of hormones, your cycle, and the menopause. It doesn't get spoken about enough.
It doesn't.
It might not be for me as a man to talk about that too much, but I think it's an important subject. And clearly, just maybe you just take a peek at social media. A lot of women will talk about that, but not engage with it. A little hint at that could be a thing, their hormones.
Yeah, no, I think that's important to talk about it, and might be something for a Twitch chat to do. But obviously, I wouldn't like to exclude the man, if or for them to feel excluded if we were to say, oh, well, we're going to talk about diabetes and menopause, because I don't think, and I think also hormones affect you, gentlemen, obviously, in different ways, and probably for you it's more concentrated during puberty than it is nowadays. But yeah, no, that's definitely something to do. And another thing also that I think people do not talk about, but everybody got affected, is obviously the impact of diabetes with your intimacy. I think everybody has issue with their sex drive, one way or the other, and we should talk about it. Sex is part of life.
Absolutely.
And we wouldn't be saying, oh, well, you're doing this or you're doing that. That's not. It's more to realize that we are normal, we are human beings, we have emotion, and those things happen, and sadly it's linked to the condition somehow.
Yeah.
Would it be erectile dysfunction or lack of libido? You're not interested. No,
Yeah.
prefer to do gardening or something.
Yeah.
It's and it's weird, but
but as you said, it's a
somehow we're
part of
lucky.
life, and it's a subject, and it should be spoken about. And it's something Harvey and I have spoken about in an old podcast before we had videos, before we just used to chat on the phone and those poor quality audio things we used to publish. We spoke a little bit about it then, and we do tweet chats about hormones and sex. We have had those in the past. They're not always that heavily populated. I think sometimes people may feel uncomfortable or awkward to talk about those subjects.
And I get that, because it's the same. If you mention it to your diabetic team, they usually clam up. They don't really give you much support or indication as per what you should do, or it's a bit like some of it might be also linked to the fact that those issues we're having are psychological. You may have had an incident where you were hypo while in the thrust off, and then that kind of give you a blockage somehow for when you try to reiterate, because you're thinking, oh my god, if it's always a big if, doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but somehow it's kind of affecting your mood, and as such affecting how you are feeling and receiving those attention, etc. So
yeah, I mean, that could stick in
yeah,
the back of your mind as, okay, is this
yes.
going to be something that's going to happen again soon? Or, and yeah, I can understand how that can be a psychological issue. Quite easy.
And sometimes also, everything is so close, so sometimes you don't need much to get off the mood, particularly if you were to say, oh well, tonight
Yeah.
let's do it, get prep, you do the prep, etc. And then it's, hubby or the kids walk in the room and say, oh mom, I mean, do you have a sweet shop in here, because you prepare your bags of sweets and your juices or whatever you take as treat. So, and you can say, no, it's because Daddy and I let her. Well, it's
Yeah.
just kind of thinking, okay, fine. And somehow that kind of, oh, well, I'm not too sure we're going to now, because that takes too much space in your brain, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Yes,
So
it can dominate many parts of your life, and sex for most people until, maybe all their lives, can be a quite an important issue. And if suddenly one day something happens and diabetes is the cause, or something to do with diabetes might have caused it, there should be an outlet. And I think HCPs who feel uncomfortable need to get over that, because I think, you and I are talking about it today. We've never met,
yes.
but it's a
And now you don't want to meet me.
Oh. No, it'll be fine. Just put booze in me, it'll be okay.
Oh, thank
I
you.
think it's a subject, and I think it should be spoken about. And if the patient isn't talking about it, if we're not talking about it, then maybe the HCPs need to just say, "Are things okay in that department? Anything you want to talk about, get off your chest." Then that's good. Just now and again. And I think for people who find it awkward or uncomfortable, should have that little outlet, and that would help a lot of people. For me personally, I've been asked by one consultant once, about 20 years ago, and I was 24 at the time. And so things were fine. And now I'm 45, a little bit older. No one's asking me about anything anymore. Maybe they assume people are 45.
You've got kids, so
Okay.
that thing, you don't need it. But it's just not that. Yeah, I mean, it's little things as well. Sometimes you have bit different. You may have bit of pain or aches or something, and you think, oh, it's fine. But actually, you just realize that other people are experiencing it, and actually perhaps more so the diabetic community than anything else. And you just think, well, obviously, there's a link there, but because no one is talking about it, you don't really know until people start opening up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's communication, language matters. It's all of that. So yeah,
Maybe it
and that's
gets
why I
better.
think.
Go ahead.
No, I was just, I was saying, I think somehow that's why I want to get more engaged, because I want to, not to preach, but I want to, yeah, I think to talk about those things, and perhaps pushing some boundaries a bit,
Yeah.
making them at least shake, to realize that,
Yeah.
something like that. Anyway.
I think that's a good point, and maybe we can organise some sort of tweet chat, at least once or twice a year, that touches on those sort of, I don't want to use the word taboo, because they shouldn't be taboo, but those awkward subjects that sometimes people find difficult to talk about, and maybe if we talk about them more, it will inspire other people to talk about them. Maybe not openly, but perhaps in the clinic at a next appointment, they'll mention something that's happened because they've seen other people, their peers, talking about it openly. So
Yeah, perhaps also to push towards oh, I can't remember his name now. He's organizing Twitch chat on Monday night with globally with lots of people.
diabetes chat, Tom Dean.
Tom, that's the one. I was thinking it's not Tim, it's Tom. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that might, because yeah, just to get also point of view from different culture, from different countries.
Yeah.
That could be interesting and enriching. So
Maybe Tom will.
Food for thought.
I think so, and maybe Tom will get in touch. I think I'll tag Tom into this video. Maybe he'll get in touch, and he'll be, Alex, come and be a guest, come and be a host, and that's it. Then you got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Here we are. Okay, I think maybe we should call it a day for
So
this one.
it will be talking about sex. Oh la la.
Oh la la! Oh my God, that's good. I'm going to save that clip. That's amazing. That's going to be your opening sequence. Maybe we should call it a day because it's been amazing, and I think we could talk all day about many things. But we might have to wait until TAD next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And any other time, 6 months, 1 year time, if you want to do it again.
Okay. Well, I'll get you in again at some point. I'm sure. I hope so. Maybe we can do the It's Medicinal one, and it's not just me. I can.
Yeah,
with
the others, yes.
And listen to the other two. Okay. It won't be a quiz. It'll just be chats. Okay. Okay, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Alex.
See you next week.
You'll see me next week, TAD, and we'll chat more about all these maybe difficult subjects, but fun subjects too. Yeah. I'm sure. Maybe have a glass of something cold as well.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Something
Alex.
that loosens the tongue a bit. All right.
Yes.
See you soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye.
Alex. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye for now.